submitted January 11th, 2024. Motion for discovery regarding documentation of police officers and Commonwealth employees, staff, and representative. Pursuant to Massachusetts Rules of Criminal Procedure for motion to discovery, particularly in reference to Rule 14A.2, discovery of other material and relevant evidence not readily provided by the prosecution through automatic discovery and in accordance with the time allowed by Rule 13D.1, i.e., prior to the conclusion of pretrial hearings, the defendant, Maurice Stringer, respectfully requests discovery of all written and/or recorded notes pertaining to this case involving Boston police officers, detectives, and their communication with and/or regarding the parties listed in this case. Introduction, background. Boston Police Department responded to the Hynes Convention Center on March 11, 2023. After reviewing the information of the incident and speaking with several parties, the responding officers elected not to pursue the incident any further. Footnote: the officers' report, along with the body cam footage, indicate that officers had the phone number and contact information for Mr. Stringer and the female victim, attorney Cheryl M. Powell, in the incident. No contact was attempted. Detective Diperri was later assigned the case. In his investigation and subsequent application for complaint, Diperri leaves out numerous relevant details that are readily accessible to him from the unbiased testimony of the surveillance footage and provided in other documents he references, including video of the defendant. According to the body cam footage that the detective had in his possession and alluded to watching in his application for complaint against the defendant, the Hynes Convention Center security complained that the alleged victims in this case, not the defendant, were nuisances the entire weekend at the Hynes, yelling at security and harassing other patrons. The security also provided the contact information for the female victim who witnessed the incident. No reports submitted by the detective make any mention of this victim. Moreover, in the defendant's statement, obtained from a Facebook post that Detective Diperri references, the defendant stated he was assaulted, followed, and maimed. Yet Diperri did not file complaint against the attackers. Diperri also didn't reference the video which showed the Jean-Jacques brothers following the defendant, despite having testimony and video footage of the assault against Stringer. Detective Diperri withheld information and evidence in order to bring criminal charges against Mr. Stringer and to protect the alleged victims who actually pursued and assaulted Mr. Stringer, per Hynes Convention Center video evidence, violating Mr. Stringer's rights. Mr. Stringer was permanently maimed due to the assault he suffered by said prosecution's alleged victim, and the evidence of the injury, in addition to Mr. Stringer's testimony, are both visible on videos that the detective had access to. Based on these details from the materials provided by the prosecution, there is further concern that additional pertinent information may not have been provided to the Commonwealth. Therefore, the request is that the courts move the Commonwealth to obtain and provide to the defense any and all communication notes and documentation that the Boston Police Department's responding unit and investigative unit, respectively, have pertaining to this case. Discovery requested. This motion seeks the handwritten notes, email communication, and audio recordings of the Boston police officers and detectives involved in investigating this case. In particular, the following documentation are requested. Request 1, all video, audio, and email communication and notes between the officers involved in this case and each of the following. 1A, Harry Jean Jacques. 1B, David Jean Jacques. 1C, Grant Smith Ellis. 1D, Wendy Murphy. Footnote: as outlined in previous motions issued in this case, Wendy Murphy is the mother of Grant Smith Ellis, aka Grant Ellis. Her son, who issued false reports in this case, and her intimate connection with this municipality for over 2 decades warrant reasonable suspicion to request her communication on this matter with anyone in the Boston Police Department or in the Boston Municipal Court. This request includes any communication involving the mentioned parties and the Boston Police Department Detectives Unit and/or the Responding Officers Unit. Request 2. All communication regarding the March 11, 2023 Hynes Convention Center incident and/or the parties involved in the aforementioned incident between the Commonwealth employees, staff, and representatives and each of the following. 2A, the Hynes Convention Center staff and/or security. 2B, Harry Jean Jack. 2C, David Jean Jack. 2D, Grant Smith Ellis. 2E, Wendy Murphy. Request 3, the body cam footage from all responding officers who responded to the incident for the entire duration of their presence at the Hynes Convention Center from when the officers arrived at the Hynes Convention Center in response to the incident call to when they left. As of January 11th, 2024, the prosecution has only provided partial footage from 2 body cameras. Request 4, any record, including the audio and written transcript of the magistrate hearing held on May 9th, 2023, where the complaint issued by Detective Diperri was presented to the clerk magistrate. The application states Detective Diperri was sworn in but does not provide the time of the hearing nor place. Defendant motioned for the case to be dismissed based on the lack of a trustworthy source to provide sufficient evidence for probable cause. However, the motion was denied, giving credibility to the incomplete and inaccurate information provided by the officer. Therefore, this request seeks a copy of the record for that proceeding. Request 5, in accordance with Mass. Rules of Criminal Procedure Rule 14, A1D, this request seeks the records of the involved parties that provided details to the investigative detective, including 5A, Grant Smith Ellis, 5B, Harry Jean Jacks. Footnote, this rule calls for the record of convictions of the defendant, co-defendants, and prosecution witnesses. The court is required to order the probation department to deliver to the parties the record of prior complaints, indictments, and dispositions of all witnesses identified pursuant to subdivisions A1AV. Harry Jean Jack is listed as a witness in the narrative of the application complaint. See page 1, number 2320189007-supplemental Nanis 1 Boston PD. 5C. David Jean Jack. Request 6. Boston Police Department's audio recordings and all reports for calls, all email exchanges, handwritten notes, and any other communication regarding this incident at the Hynes Convention Center. Conclusion. As enumerated several times, the information currently before the Commonwealth is incomplete and inaccurate. The requested discovery are specific and relevant to the case against Mr. Stringer. The details provided through the requests sought will assist in further clarifying the situation that has led to the current proceedings. The overall purpose of discovery under the federal rules is to require the disclosure of all relevant information so that the ultimate resolution of disputed issues may be based on a full and accurate understanding of the true facts and therefore embody a fair and just result. See United States v. Procter & Gamble Co., Oliver v. City of Orlando, 2007. In this case, there is good cause for the Commonwealth to move on all of the discovery requested in order to ensure that the outcomes are fair and just. The actions to date in this particular case indicate a growing concern that there is prejudicial bias against the defendant and violation of the defendant's constitutional rights. It is imperative that all details known and communicated about the incident and the parties involved are made available to the defendant.
So after filing this motion, the courts rejected it. Specifically Judge Richardson. This is the first time this trial has been going on this case has been going on for almost a year, and this is the first time I've ever seen this judge. They keep switching up judges. And he rejected the motion without even knowing the facts or anything surrounding the case. He didn't even know I was assaulted. So that means he didn't even watch the 2-minute video. And here we are almost a year into the proceeding, and I have a judge presiding over it who doesn't know anything going on. The prosecution keeps putting these younger prosecutors in there who don't really know the case. The prosecutor didn't know anything about the case last time. She keeps putting fresh bodies in there. This is the definition of malicious prosecution. You know, we have exculpatory evidence. We have evidence that I've been asking for. We have the prosecution telling me, oh, maybe they erased the evidence. So this is the same excuse that the Hynes Convention Center tried to give me in the beginning. Even though the day of the incident, first responding officers told you not to erase the video, they first tried to fleece me and tell me the video might have been erased. But we found out it wasn't. They started giving me video footage from stuff that shouldn't be, if in fact the video had been erased. Right here we see Harry trying to attack me from behind. They cut this video out of the original video they gave me, and then all of a sudden it was able to be recovered again from a completely different angle. Stay tuned.